Hello, everyone, and welcome to a somber episode of Faithful to the Traitors.
And I need to put my black
Your black veil.
face.
Mm-hmm. We didn't think that
We riot.
we didn't think this day was going to come so soon. It's always so unexpected when it happens suddenly.
I mean, it could have been sooner. There was the prospect of it actually being sooner, but it episode 7. That's meant to be the lucky episode.
Is it? Hello.
Oh yeah.
Can you just?
The growth.
I don't want this anymore. So could you just finish it off for me? Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks.
Lovely. Warm water. How delicious. From my.
The warm was poison.
What? How unexpected.
Hello, I am Ben. I am 100% faithful, even though there's no proof, no evidence.
But you're the only one who gave me a drink today. Well, you and Evie and Molly and Jasmine and Harry and
Producer Charlie,
who's not here at the moment. He's been banished.
Anyone who's only listening and not watching has just missed one of the best visual gags of the century, I feel. So there you go. So we are here to discuss, obviously, Series 2 of the UK series, The Traitors, and the death of
Faithful. That could be an album. That could be an album cover, an album title.
Death of a Faithful.
The Faithful.
The Faithful.
The Faithful.
There's lots of people running around comments all week saying it's a misdirection. They wouldn't edit it that obvious.
To be fair, we were a minority. But by the way, hello, I'm Alex. I'm also a Faithful who's going to die by the end of this podcast. Yes, well, I mean, I felt like we were a minority in this opinion because everyone was saying, "Oh, she's dying," and I kept saying on all the social medias that you're wrong. I kept saying it because I believed if I said it enough, it would be true. Mm-hmm. But there was always a small part of me, and I said this at the end of the last podcast, that thought that it has to be done. It can't not be. But the whole time she was drinking it, she didn't look like she was.
Yeah, she wanted to drink.
Yeah, she was like she.
Even when Miles handed to her, she looked angry at the fact, and then she was like, "I was like, oh, she's gonna spill it over him, drop it, not drink from it." And then she drank from it. And I thought, oh, but it's past midnight. Maybe Claudia's gonna say they missed their chance.
You thought
I was in denial for a long time.
Yeah, you did for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, and then
lots of different ways.
She was still there in the morning, not dead. I was like, oh, what's gonna happen? Mission? She's gonna be able to find the antidote to the poison. Everything's fine.
No,
you have to follow your coffin answer clues. And then I thought, well, maybe at the end, if they say, Diane, who do you think murdered you? And she guesses right, she gets saved. But no, that didn't happen either. So she was in fact murdered.
Well, she made a mistake actually because she thought that she hadn't been murdered, and then Claudia was like, to one of the questions, I can't remember what it was now, but Claudia was like,
what would Tracy leave you in her? Like, who would Tracy leave all her belongings to?
Oh, that's right.
Like, me.
I love Tracy's shrine, by the way. We should set up a little Tracy shrine behind us. I tell you what we should have done. We should have a Diane shrine behind us right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe in the next episode I'll have a picture of Diane behind us throughout the rest of the series.
She's in our hearts.
She's in our hearts and our souls and our love, in our everything, in our brains and our minds. Listen, if you enjoy listening to the podcast and you have any comments, and by the way, notice we've gone straight into talking about the Traitors this time. 10 minutes? You don't have to wait 10 minutes to listen to us talk about nonsense with the Traitors. But no, we love your comments, especially if you've been watching us on YouTube and you've been commenting underneath. You can get in touch with us by Gmail or email, faithfultothetraitors@gmail.com. You can find us on X @Traitors Podcast. You can find us on Instagram @FaithfulToTheTraitors. If you enjoy listening to the show, don't forget to go buymeacoffee.com/faithful and throw some gold coin our way. Mm-hmm. And don't forget, you can listen to us. And if you are listening to us, don't forget to subscribe. But you can also watch us on Spotify and YouTube. Just search Faithful to the Traitors Podcast. And if you do, don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up, and you'll never miss an episode ever again. Imagine that.
That would be good. Before we move on, you mentioned about comments. I'm going to read one out because it needs to be read out at the beginning of the show.
Do it.
I'll go with the first comment, gents. It's 10 minutes into the podcast.
Oh, this is what I just said.
And you haven't even mentioned the show yet. So there you go.
But this is why I said it. So we take comments on board as well. Well, you don't necessarily have to be. Actually, no, I shouldn't say this because we're just lampooning ourselves. We'll say, don't forget to give us advice of how we should do the podcast and what you'd like to see. But also what you'd like to us to talk about. Like if there's anything that you spotted on the Traitors and we didn't spot and you want us to have a little chat about it, we certainly can.
This is something that Henry spotted. He said, or they said, I think the Diane cliffhanger is a massive misdirection. And I think it's going to be Charlie or Evie who drinks it. Notice that no one still knows the difference between
Yes.
Charlie and Evie.
This amazes me. I find it remarkable that the 3 white blonde women are still in the game. It's like not
Still
one
love
has
them.
been murdered yet.
I love
know
all 3 of them and all of them at the same
Evie,
time.
I think, is distinguishable now. She has the Cornish West Country accent.
No, that's Charlie.
Okay, there you go. So that shows how much I take.
I think they both have. No, Evie has Scottish accent.
Evie's Scottish. Okay,
I think she's a nurse.
good.
Who
That's good
knows?
to know. Oh, another thing I should say is that someone did get in touch with us with something I said right at the top of this series of the podcast, saying, would it be great if ... And someone got in touch and said, actually, someone has done ... So keep watching and keep listening to the very end of the show. And we've got a special treat for you all for something that happened that I wished would happen. And my wish has come true.
Was it last week when someone wanted the traitors to play strip traitor?
That was
it?
your suggestion.
No, it wasn't. It was a viewer. I'm not in the gutter like that.
Really?
No.
Right. So who's gonna? Jazz is gonna lose some clothes this week because Jazz made a ridiculous statement by saying, "I don't think this person who's just being banished is a traitor." But
That was a good
little did he
comment.
know.
Makes him look innocent.
No, because I think he's beginning to self-doubt himself.
I know, but he shouldn't because he's always so right.
Yeah, but Jazz is self-doubting himself because you say he's always right, but he never is right. He always goes a little
He's
bit
not-
left field from what everyone else is voting.
He's never publicly right, but in his confessions or bits to camera, he's
Yeah,
right.
he's always right. But when he gets
in
to
his
the round
diary,
table-
he's right.
Yeah.
Then when it comes to public speaking, he can't do it.
But I do worry for him because I think that he's taking everything that on board. That whenever he says a comment like, I don't think this person is a traitor, I think this person is definitely 100% a traitor, and every single time he's said it at the round table and every single time he's been wrong, he could look at it as a perspective as that a lot of the players in the game don't see him as a threat, which is good for Jazz's point of view because it means he's probably just coasting his way to the end. But at the same time, I think his self-doubt is now starting to kick in, and I really feel for Jazz, especially when he's walking around the castle today and he's going, why am I never right? And I thought, oh, Jazz, that's get it. And I just think that Jazz just needs to... The thing is that Jazz comes up with these great theories and he has these conversations with people. Then when soon he gets to the round table, he doesn't bring them up. And it's like tonight was such a prime opportunity for him.
I know, I was shouting at the TV, but please just mention Paul. Bring up your huge 2-page, 10,000 word theory, please. And he didn't.
Also,
and look what happened.
He was the only one, if you were watching it around the round table, he was the only one that noticed that, because he's obviously got this thing about Harry and Paul. Because in the last episode, he didn't quite understand why he told something to Harry in trust. Harry then passed it on to Paul, and then Paul passed that back on to Jazz, and Jazz is a bit confused, but then kind of figured out, well, then they must be traitors. And he was at the round table, and as Paul was jumping at Miles on the theory, quite right theory, but obviously he knew it was right because he was the one who promoted it, that Miles gave the drink to Diane. Harry then jumped on board with that theory as well and was supporting Paul at the table, and Jazz sat there and you could see he was like going, this is definitely happening, this is definitely something going on. And it's almost like Harry then got there before him, because then Harry later on, when Paul and Miles started having this big argument at the round table, because Miles was fighting for his life,
fair as he should,
very well as well. He went for Paul and he went for the jugular on a few occasions.
Could have won if Jazz spoke up, I feel.
But Paul was sweating a lot, and then Harry turned to Zach and said, "This is definitely two traitors fighting one another." And Zach was like, But later on, then Zach let me down again, but I'll get to that maybe in a second as well. But that's what I mean. Harry beat him to the punch. Harry did exactly what Jazz should have done. Jazz should have turned to the person that he was sat next to and said, that's definitely Harry and Paul going up against the traitor. That's two traitors going up against Miles.
Yeah, but he's scared Jazz to play his hand too soon, because then if you do that, you get murdered sometimes.
Yeah, but he's showing himself to be...
I know, it's episode 7.
He's not... Exactly, he's running out of time now. He's running out of rope to climb.
We're going to have to start doing maths soon to work out how many traitors need to be in a final to be faithful to win and stuff soon. And we always hate the maths part, so I'm not looking forward to that next week.
Well, I didn't get a GCSE in maths for nothing, though, so I will figure it out. But, I mean, I feel for Jazz. I really do. And my heart hurts for him, because he's desperately trying to show his place in the team, but for some reason, and I don't understand why, every time he gets the moment, the opportunity to do something about it, he never does anything about it. Jazz, come on, man. Step up. Come on.
Scared.
Yeah, but the reason he's scared is because I think he keeps making the wrong mistake. He doubts himself.
And he talks himself out of it.
That's it. And it's frustrating because I know Jazz could be some huge tool in this game.
Pardon?
You know what I mean, you filth.
Right. Talk about frustration. Last week, the episode was making me feel sick towards the end. It continued to make me feel sick. And do you not think it was a little bit like a morbid, drawn-out, horrible, slow death they made us watch?
Well, for Diane?
For about 30 minutes. Yeah. It's like you knew she was dead, but she was still there. And it's like, this is just not nice to watch. And then you're watching them trod along the forest and it's getting foggy. And
I liked it.
it's just like, oh, and then they're just sitting coffins. And I was like, it's very traumatizing. You know, it's like,
I know.
Is Ross okay watching his mum's death?
I think Ross enjoyed it, actually. I think Ross, in a small part, was kind of a bit happy that he was able to now play the game alone. Although still didn't admit that Diane was his mum, which is an interesting tactic. It feels like this is now the time where it would be okay to admit that, because I think that no one in their right mind would ever suspect Ross would do something like, be a traitor because of Diane being a faithful. I think that no one would put those
people don't like it when you come out of a thing. It's bad enough when you say you're a chef and you're a policeman, let alone if you're related to someone. So while we're on the Diane topic,
what's your name and where do you come from?
Go on.
Fact files.
I gave you a clip today for you to put in your sound bites, by the way. Did you see that?
No.
It was I don't know whether to play it. You always tell me if I do it on the microphone you can't hear it. Oh, you can hear that knock. It was Jessie J going,
oh, I'm not going to put that on. Well, that was a joke.
Funny. It was a joke. It was funny. I thought it was funny.
What's your name and where do you come from?
Oh, right, come on.
Well, you keep talking over all right. Diane.
Oh,
60.
This is
63.
This is bittersweet. I don't want to do this.
Dead.
No. You just said how horrible it was watching her watch her long, slow, drawn-out death.
I'm ripping...
And you're like that. Diane, 63, dead.
I'm ripping the plaster off quick, which Claudia should have done. She should have just got that sword out. I know, she was really serving looks today. Right, so Diane, 36 years, young, dead. Applying for the Traitors was all about proving her kids wrong after they said, quote, that I could never do something like this. A retired teacher, Diane hasn't got a game plan, but hopes her sense of humour and physical fitness will help her out along the way. Quote, I've discovered over the years that I can either raise an atmosphere or bring it down. She says, quote, I'm
a bit miserable. I like to make a room feel like a tension that's cut by a knife.
Best of both worlds. I'm hoping I'll be motivating and energizing for people. Those are my best qualities.
Well, to be fair, a lot of people said that they lost a good team player. Claudia being the main one as well. Claudia said, and Claudia was cheerleading Diane the last episode because she was making the most money. Diane made them more money. Think about it. She made them another £7,000.
£7,000 in her will. So that's nice.
Yeah, she's given out to the whole group or whoever should win at the end of it. So that means the prize pot now is at £56,550. I don't know how much it was at this point. I vaguely remember that they made a lot of money very quickly in the last series.
Weeks ago.
And then when the BBC realised they were giving money away, they were kind of like, oh, maybe we should draw it in a little bit. I feel like they're making a much more steady progress this time round.
Yeah, it's not like 50,000 week one, episode one,
no,
and then like £2.50 per gold coin next time. Yeah, right. So do we need to talk about this evil man? Paul.
He's
we're not
we hate fans, is he?
No, we're not a we hate Paul, anti-Paul podcast. By the way, we're just the anti-Paul traitor podcast, but as a traitor, not as a person.
I'm not against Paul at all. And actually, at the beginning of this, I was championing Paul. I said that Paul was the strongest player. I don't think he is anymore. I truly believe that Harry is really remarkably surprised me as being the A-game player in this whole scenario.
Doesn't overact Harry, that's the difference. I feel Paul is...
I don't think he has... I don't think he's over... emotioned anything. I think when his mate Johnny went, because no one likes Johnny to go. No. When Johnny went,
There's been loads of thirst TikToks about him all over TikTok.
That's there. I have to check that out. When Johnny went, I feel like that Harry was genuinely upset. Paul's was amateur dramatics version of being upset when he realised that he had got the traitor gone, because obviously his whole shtick here on tonight's episode was that he was trying to get rid of Miles because he knew that the faithful needed blood. Miles was the easiest target because they were already going in that direction anyway.
Thanks to him, kind of.
I don't think so. I think it's thanks to Diane. And the funny thing is there's my chalice halfway there. Hope the cat doesn't lap it up, or the cat will be on the sofa dead.
You say it's down to Diane, but I think it was
100% down.
It was Charlie, Eve, or Molly. One of them said that Paul was putting Diane's name out before they'd even left on the funeral cart.
But
so he was still pushing the Miles thing.
When they went to breakfast, there was lots of theories flying around about exactly how the poison was given out. There was kisses, hugs,
a grope,
drink, a
careful.
But Diane targeted in on the fact that she had been given a drink by Miles. And later we found out that also hadn't Charlie given her a drink as well. I had written it down. Evie had also given her a drink. This is what I mean. They're all similar. And so I think no, I'm sorry, but Diane was the one who did it. And then when Diane had this private chat with Paul, I think that Paul quite rightly used that as evidence then against Miles for then the future roundtable. Unfortunately for Paul, no one else heard it. So then that was another accusation Miles was able to throw.
When they asked Evie, I was like, come on, Evie, you did hear it. She was like, I heard you say the names, so I didn't hear anything else. I was like, really? Why was she being so coy? I was really up for a Miles redemption and Paul getting out surprisingly moment is what I was up for.
I don't think that was ever going to happen.
I know, but I was hoping for it.
Paul was still
the two redheads.
Yeah, but despite what's happened to this point, Paul is still seen as a very, very strong and likable character. So it's going to take a lot more than what Miles did to get him out. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your opinion on Paul, he is probably saved himself a bit again after getting Miles out, because he's definitely used this as a way of being a team player, and that he's
faithful hunter, traitor hunter.
Yeah, he's a traitor hunter now.
I thought that turnaround was really annoying. Like at the end of it, they were all like, "Oh, congratulations!" And Zach, I think you mentioned
Zach
on
the back, and
Zach gave him a big hug, and then they were all laughing at his jokes, and it's like, come on. These short memories.
Well, this is the thing with Zach that actually got me a little bit miffed.
Right.
I was a little bit miffed, I have to say, because Zach was on board with when Harry did his little whisper and said, I think that's two traitors having an argument with one another.
That won't pick up on the mic.
I bet it does. Okay. Well, I'll have to redub it then, like they do, like Stacey Slater does in EastEnders. And then Zach replied, yeah, I think you're right too. That's a good idea. And then as soon as Miles went out, Zach went running to Paul and gave him a very big hug. Now, he might be playing a game. He might be trying to keep Paul on side, still thinking.
Real.
But I feel like Zach just completely forgot that conversation, and then now he's kind of wiped the slate clean.
Well, now you know, after your rant about, what's his name, Jazz, that's why he's so scared to put Paul's name out, because look how quick they've all turned. 2 seconds ago, they were about to vote him, then they're all laughing around.
They weren't about to vote him, though. The thing is unfortunately that if Miles had been a faithful and Paul had deliberately tried to push that agenda forward, then Paul would now be target number one, because Miles is a traitor. And despite that, even, who was it who said, I think Zach said to Paul, it's like, if Miles goes out and he's a faithful, I'm going straight for you next time, Paul. So basically, Paul not lucked out because he knew exactly what he was doing. He was getting rid of a traitor. But if Miles had been a faithful, he would have been a lot more in a much more comfortable position than he is right now. You have to remember, Paul is the most liked. They always show sound bites of people saying, "Oh yeah, Paul's all right. Yeah, no, Paul's definitely
Andrew bloody loves him.
Andrew will fight him tooth and nail.
Literally being like, I'd be so upset.
Andrew will die on that hill as well, and that's something else to look out for.
Traitor touter, Paul was about to put him up as a recruit to then get rid of.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second. But no, definitely, that's also an example where Andrew is basically going to put his support into Paul, and that's going to get him undone. Andrew's going to go out because of Paul, and I feel like it's going to be under the hand of Paul as well if Paul doesn't go out anytime soon. Ross supports Paul now as well because he says it's revenge for my mum. So he's like saying like Paul helped him get revenge for his mum. Little does he know that Paul is
Diane
the one who did it.
Diane is spinning in her grave, literally.
He literally is. I love that shot, by the way, of Diane looking really like her eyes wide open, looking up into the sky as she was getting
Waiting
buried.
for her drawn-out death.
There was a moment where Paul was doing his overall dramatics, and he was going, "Oh my god, I just hope it is Miles, or else I want to do it for Diane." And Charlotte, who sits next to Paul, kind of looked over him and was like, "What? You what? What are you on about, Paul?" And then again, like Zach, who went running over to him, gave him a hug. Charlotte afterwards kind of tapped Paul on the shoulder and went, "Oh, well done, mate.
Yeah.
You know, you
Don't
did
cry.
really
You did
well.
really well. You
Yeah,
proved
well
yourself.
done."
Yeah.
So I don't know if people, because then later on also, and please forgive me if I get this wrong, I think it was Molly, but it may have been Charlie. But one of them then went up to Paul and said like, "Oh, well done, Paul. You did a really good job." And then later when they did the talking heads bit, they said, "No, Paul's definitely a traitor." So I'm wondering if like because people are too scared to kind of step out of the group a little bit and say, there's only two people who have done that so far, and that's been Zach and Jazz. And then this episode, Harry had done it too. I mean, I'd love to see what happens if it gets found out that Harry had been talking about Paul behind his back.
Yeah, to Zach. Because that's the sort of thing Zach would just go up and like say to him, I feel.
I think he would too.
Yeah.
I think he would too. Interestingly, I can't remember if we discussed this, but someone mentioned in our comments, I was meant to mention it, I think last episode, that if Paul hadn't said anything to Jazz, if Paul had, if Harry, hadn't said anything to Paul about there being a suspicion around Paul from Jazz, Harry could have actually used that to his advantage and got Paul out last week.
I mean, he wants to keep Paul with him for a bit though, doesn't he?
But does he though? Because then when they were talking about after the round table and after Miles got banished, when they were talking about recruitment and murder, Harry was the one who convinced Paul didn't want to recruit. Harry convinced him to recruit. And in the bits then off camera, when they went in the tower together, Harry then said to the camera, the reason he wants to recruit is because he wants to have someone on board with him so he can get rid of Paul. So he's obviously trying to find something, which is making me think
Someone he trusts.
he's going to get Zach, and he's going to convince Paul to get Zach to join the team. If indeed Zach does agree to join them, but if he does, then Harry knows that Zach is on his side because he's had that little secret conversation around the round table to this episode. So that's what of the four that are up for choice.
Well, shall we start talking about Traitor Towers then?
Yes.
There was a lovely knock at the door. We knew it was coming because there's two left. So when there's two traitors left, usually they get an option of you can choose to recruit and the person can choose to accept or not. And if they don't accept, there's not a murder, is there?
No.
It's just,
No, we're not at that point just yet.
So
That
everyone-
happens when there's only one left.
Yeah, and they're forced.
And that's why, in a way, you kind of do want to keep two traitors on until the final. Then when you get to the final, that's when you want to
Kill one.
Yeah, that's when you see the two. Again, that's something to look out for when you get to the final. Anyone who's auditioning for Series 3, here's a little tip from me.
Right.
When you get to the final, always presume there's two traitors left, and the two people who are having the biggest argument around the table are both traitors. Just remember that one, okay? That's a little tip from me.
And don't be really, really selfish because we all know what happens there. We'll say we'll say no.
Australia Series 2.
Yes, we'll say
That
no.
series has a lot to call for.
Such a
I know.
dilemma.
Oh.
Um,
A traitor's dilemma, some might say.
So they chose, because Paul kind of wanted, he was a bit stuck basically, because he said if we don't and we murder, it will look a bit better for him, I think he said. But he said if we recruit, people will think that I've been recruited and get rid of me anyway.
Paul didn't want to recruit.
Yeah.
He point blank said he did not want to recruit.
But even
Harry convinced him to do it, which is...
Yeah. But even if they went for a murder, I think people will be like, would they not question why Paul wasn't murdered?
That was brought up,
no.
actually. That was no. That was brought up again. That was brought up, I think it was just before the round table. That was brought up by someone.
Miles, wasn't it? I think Miles was using that as a bit.
It was Miles using that at the round
I
table.
think so.
That's right. It's suspicious. Why? If you're so well loved, you'll be easy fodder for the traitors. Why haven't you been murdered yet, Paul? Miles brought that up. So yes. So Paul's in a little bit of a tricky situation right now, which is why when you say like oh yeah, but he's loved by the group. Yeah, but I think the people are very suspicious of him. I just feel like there's a real big suspicion behind him.
So their options then, there was 4. There was Jasmine.
There was 4. They decided to recruit or seduce, whichever one you prefer.
Seduce.
And it was Jasmine because she's a quote big big name and fierce.
She loves a shield, so having this would be like a permanent shield.
Let's say their names. Presume they are the ones that get chosen before we then give our option of who we think has been chosen and whether they accept it or not. So Jasmine, I don't think she would accept it.
No, but I know that she loves a shield, but I don't think she would.
But I don't think she'd
sleep better, but okay.
I don't know. Ross, because he's good at guessing, was their reason.
No.
I think he would accept it.
No, I don't.
I think he would, on the basis of, like I said, I think then he would reveal his secret about Diane being his mum, and he would use that then as a. But my mum was a faithful, so am I. We played the same game.
Would he want to team up with the people that chose to kill his mum last episode?
He said his mum's roast dinners are crap. He might as well just go full blown.
So who else?
Plus, he said he's going to still split the money with his mum. Maybe he sees that being a traitor will be an easy route. Andrew would be the reason they've chosen Andrew, which is a bit sad, is because they see him as an easy sacrifice. Again, like you said, so he's dying on that hill of supporting Paul.
He would be an easy sacrifice for Paul because he trusts Paul so much.
Yeah, and he would accept it.
And he'd accept it, and he'd be like, "Oh, I've been brought into the gang. My mate Paul's brought me in. We're going to the end." Yeah.
And then literally probably the next round table, Paul will be like,
"Well, I don't know, because then if Zach lets Paul know that Harry put his name out, Paul and Andrew could team up and go to Harry."
That's true. Paul. That's true. Paul's got a very good ally there in Andrew, and then maybe Paul sees that as a. If Paul does get his way, then in the recruitment and not Harry, which I don't think will happen, unfortunately, because I think Harry he's properly pulling the strings.
Yeah, it's those eyes.
It is, and it's just that.
It's that little curl, the Superman curl, Clark Kent curl. You just can't say no.
His persona. It's like when he was reading out the script from the on the invitation. He was like, "To the traitors." It's like, all right, Harry. No, but yes, I think if Harry joins the ranks, I think that Paul would actually see himself as being in a stronger position. Harry would not be in such a strong position, so that might be a big risk for Harry. If
what about
agree with that?
Zach then?
Now, this is the opposite. If Zach joins, Harry is in a much stronger position. Paul is in a much weaker position. I don't know if Zach would say yes. He's the only one there's a question mark for me. I think he would say yes, actually. I think Zach's that kind of... Because Zach's always...
Yeah, he'll be like, let's play, maybe. Yeah.
He's that kind of persona, isn't he? He likes to put himself across as being a little bit like, I like to disrupt the norm. I like to, interrupt the protocol. I'm going to change things up a little bit. And as I say, I think that would be then a very strong player to be on Harry's team, and Harry would know that, and then Paul is in a real dangerous position unless he can get another one. Can they seduce or recruit another one? Not another one.
No, only when there's two. Yeah, then they can. If there's two, they can always recruit.
I mean, if there's three of them, can they recruit? Okay. So then...
Although no one should listen to us, because what do we know? Because we said Miles was the best traitor out of the four.
I never said that, actually. I never said that. You did.
Play back the tapes.
I might have said it once or twice, but I'd also said at the beginning that I thought Harry was the weakest one.
Exactly.
Look where we're at. Look where we're at. So this is why I say that, this and the, watching it from the outside in hindsight, of course we can be all judgmental as like, you bloody idiots, you can't see this and the can't see the wood from the trees, you fools.
Three blonde women who look the same.
Yeah.
Silly.
They should have made all three of them traitors, really. But, and there's us then saying that right from episode 1, Harry's rubbish, and look at us now.
We're top dog.
We said that about Wilf in series 1, though, remember? I said, Wilf won't survive. Wilf's a prat. Wilf's annoying. Blah, I don't want Wilf to win. And then as the game progressed, I was like, you know what? Hands down, Wilf is the best player in the game. So
silence, please.
Oh, Christ.
Right.
Silence, please.
So that's us then, wrapped up. So I think you're thinking Zach, aren't you?
Zach. If Harry gets his way, Zach will be saying yes.
I'm thinking Andrew, but we'll see.
That's if Paul gets his way.
I remember everyone, keep listening to the end for the special surprise.
Well, I was going to say, so if you've got anything, if you could... That's so lackluster enthusiasm. Don't forget everyone to listen to the end. Listen, you can get in touch with us by email, faithfultothetraitors@gmail.com. You can find us on X @TraitorsPodcast or Instagram @FaithfulToTheTraitors. If you like listening to the show and you want to help the show along, go to buymeacoffee.com/faithful and you can throw us a gold coin that's worth £5. If you like listening to us, you might enjoy watching us as well. These ugly mugs right here on Spotify, if you have a Spotify account, or on YouTube, just search Faithful to the Traitors podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, and give us a thumbs up if you enjoy, if you want to see more. Oh, well done. Good catch. Also, if you are listening to us, don't forget to subscribe on your favourite podcast apps. Thank you so much then to nothing like being prepared. Thank you so much to Nathan on our Instagram account, who got in touch with us and mentioned that I wanted to see a Traitors musical. I said, why has no one thought about making a Traitors musical?
Mm-hmm.
Someone had thought about it. What a fool I am. And it was on TikTok.
So we will leave you all now.
And I better give the guy's name.
Oh, for that isn't it? Oh, sorry, no.
That's the guy who gave us
right.
his suggestion.
Okay.
So he got us in touch with a guy called Josh, and you can find him on lots of different things, but I can't find one of them. You can find him on TikTok and Instagram if you go to @JoshHarveyBits. That's @JoshHarveyBits, BITS. And he's on TikTok and Instagram, and he made this little video.
Lovely. Well, stay faithful, everyone, and we'll now enjoy the show. So get your popcorn and your poison chalices ready. Goodbye.
Ladies and gents, this is the series you've waited for. The Traitors Season 2, BBC, not Channel 4. Hi! Claudia's back and her fringe is now on the floor. Faithfuls beware, traitors are here. Harry, Miles, Paul, wait, Ash isn't here.
She's dead!
Round table, who's gonna get banished maybe? Russ is literally, actually Diane's baby. Zach's saying weird shit, please just stop talking. Sonia knew the answer, but y'all sent her walking. Brian's crying, is he lying, is he looking sheepy? Tracy's looking at a crystal ball, pretty creepy.
Ooh.
It's time to vote the person who you think is lying.
Oh, you think so?
So who do you want to go? You're probably not even right.
Yes.
Voting out fables left and right.
Pockets.
It's getting all the views. Sorry, ITV2. Oh, this is the Traitors Show. The traitors are taking traitors down. Wondering what Aubrey's doing now. Watching it come true. Claudia's here too.
Serious?
This is the Traitors Show.